has set a goal before? Anyone? All right, now keep your hand up if you have achieved a goal. We're all winners, we're all winners. And who has actually been disappointed after achieving their goal? Anyone? Anyone worked super hard for something and then not felt excited after, like, what was all this work for? I have. Yeah, okay. So I'm Alexia Hoffman. You guys heard a little bit about me. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I really have pivoted in my life and dedicated to helping people bridge the gap between the goals they're setting and their ideal life. So I'm a mom to 3 under 2, and you'll hear a little bit more about all the craziness that comes with that in a little bit. But it all got started when I was 19. I had just gotten into real estate, and I made a vision board. It was on bright yellow poster paper that I got from like the dollar store. I hung it in my 1-bedroom apartment living room, and I put $100,000 on the top. And the people in my life that came over, they looked at this vision board and they said, why would you want to do that? That's ridiculous. Like, that you're greedy, and why would you want to make $100,000? Like, that's so unrealistic. And after a couple months trying to sell real estate, I was like, what was I thinking? Like, this is so unrealistic. This is way too hard. Like, there's no way I'm ever going to do that. And after a few more months, I thought about it and I changed my environment. I joined a new company, and I realized that that goal actually wasn't big enough. Once I put my mind to it and I was around people that told me, like, oh, $100,000, of course you can do that. Think bigger. Why don't you do more? I changed my perspective, and what I found myself asking was, why did I set that goal? What about $100,000 was impactful to me? Was there anything that it meant, or was it just the fact that it was $100,000? It was 6 figures. That was the thing to do, right? That meant success for what? I didn't look at my bills and say, oh, I need $100,000 to really feel fulfilled at the end of the day. I said, oh, $100,000. That's the number that I need to go towards to feel successful, to say that I'm making it in the real estate industry. And so now, looking back, I tell that story because if I would have had the perspective that I do now on setting goals of what's the reason behind the goals I'm setting? And that's what I'm asking you guys today is, what's the why behind the goals you're setting? Are you setting a goal because you think it's the next thing to do? Because you think it's going to make you feel a certain way? Or is it because it means something for the future of your life? So one of the tools that I'm going to give you guys today is called a joy trend. A joy trend is something that's going to spark passion in your life. And I realized when I now set goals, I think about, what have I done in my life that's left me feeling excited? It's making me feel passionate. And then I can take that and transform that into the goals I'm setting for the future. So when I was growing up, I loved sports, and I was absolutely horrible. I was not a good athlete at all. I told my dad I wanted to go to the WNBA. He said, absolutely no way you're going to make it in the WNBA. Gotta love the honesty, right? Well, he signed me up for lacrosse. He said, lacrosse is a sport that's growing, so there's a chance if you start now, you can still get a scholarship. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm like in sixth grade, 7th grade. I said, I'll play basketball and lacrosse for a while and, see if I can make it work. So fast forward, I start getting really involved in the lacrosse community. I end up having to quit basketball because I'm spending so much time. I'm doing travel teams, and I become the captain of my high school team. I also ended up getting the scholarship, right? This is great. This is everything that I wanted. So exciting. Well, I come out and move to Michigan. I went to Grand Valley, go Lakers, if anyone here is a Laker. And I got there, and I hated it. It was miserable. I had worked so hard to get out here, and I spent the whole first year really, really struggling with it. I said, okay, it's just a transition season. It's my first year of college. I couldn't figure out why. This was what I wanted, right? I have to make it work. And after a year, I quit. I quit lacrosse. I left my scholarship. I left everything that I had really known behind for so long. That was like my identity really for years. And I have taken that though, and I'm able to look at lacrosse and I'm like, okay, so I liked lacrosse for a while and I didn't then. Why is that? What about it changed for me? And the biggest pieces were, one, the community. I had built my lacrosse community in high school through the people that I had spent 4 years with on travel teams and all the different aspects of that. And we had built a really tight-knit community. I was also a leader in that space. And when I came out to college, I lost both of those things. And I was able to go back, though, and identify that joy trend. And for me, what a joy trend looked like was community and leadership. So I would ask you guys to think about things in your life. If there's been something that you've enjoyed and you find yourself that you're no longer enjoying it, what aspect did you enjoy? What is something that you can look back on that's led you to where you are today? And maybe there was a piece of it that you don't enjoy as much, but you can still see that, through, I did mock trial. I was a captain on mock trial. Looking back, I actually at one point had made my degree pre-law. I didn't actually like law. I liked being a leader, right? So I can look back at those different things in my life and see a reoccurring theme. And that is how you can kind of identify a joy trend. Once you can identify your joy trends, you're able to understand your why. So to really dig deep into that, when you started your business, whatever it is, what was the reasoning for that? Did you guys do it because you thought it was the next big thing to do? Or was it something that you were passionate about and it led naturally to a business? When you think about your why, I think it's really easy for it to be blurred between people's expectations of you and what you actually enjoy doing. And a lot of the times as an entrepreneur, I think we have this mindset of, I'm going to become an entrepreneur and I'm going to have so much money and so much time and everything's going to be great, right? We're not going to have any issues. And then we get into it. And when we don't have all that, and it takes a lot of hard work, as we all know, there's always bumps in the road. There's always hard seasons that we come in contact with. That gives us the ability, when we're centered on our why and we know what that reason is, we can fall back on that, and it really makes it so much more enjoyable, even in the tough seasons. So when you are coming up with your why, I want you guys to realize that your perceived why might not be your true passion, and that's okay. But first, to acknowledge that, you have to give yourself space to sit in that and really spend the time to look at it. For me, when I, did lacrosse, that lacrosse scholarship, that was really for my dad. Like, truly it was. And I didn't realize that till a lot of years later. When I got into real estate, that $100,000 goal, that was because I wanted people to think that I was successful. That wasn't because $100,000 actually meant something to me on a deeper level. Now the goals I'm setting, they're driven by my why. My why, I look 25 years in the future and I think about, what do I want my life to look like? I think about a random Tuesday night, right? My kids are going to be out of the house. Hopefully my husband is still around and we get to play games on our deck and sit in a hot tub, right? One of my goals for 25 years, I want to go to Europe for a month and have everything run on its own, right? That's something I want to do. But to do those things, I need to be super intentional about the life I'm building right now. One of those things is I'm having my kids really close together in age. That's intentional. It's on purpose because I don't want to go through 20 years of parent-teacher conferences. Nothing against that, right? Nothing against that at all. But if I spaced out my kids and I waited 5 or 10 years, I knew that my life in 25 years from now, it's going to look different. So when I'm thinking about the business decisions I'm making, the family decisions I'm making, it's all driving me closer to that vision for 25 years from now. Does that make sense? Everyone with me? Okay. So once we can really identify what our true why is, well, we should stay with this for a second, right? We cannot stay fulfilled until we don't understand our why. To me, fulfillment is waking up excited about the life that you're living, right? So we really can't live that life that we're wanting to if we don't understand the reason that we're doing it every day. So whatever it would take for you to do that, spend some time. I'll give you guys a guide after, but take some time, figure out what that why is, and do it for yourself. Don't do it for someone else, or, nobody needs to see it or know it except you, but give yourself permission to acknowledge that true why underneath for nobody else except yourself. So once you can start identifying your why, you can start living that out. And when you start living that out, the best way to do it is to set one goal. So that can feel really restrictive. I'm the first one to set a ton of goals, but pick one goal that's going to help you measure if you're on track to that most fulfilled life. So take 10 years, 25 years, it doesn't matter. Pick your time frame. Think about that life, and then think about one goal you can work towards right now that will measure, are you on or off track? So you have 2 ways you can do that. If you're running a race, anyone a runner in here? All right, I'm not. Okay, so we have two runners. So my husband's a runner, and there's 2 ways he can kind of set a goal for a race. He either sets the event goal, so he's going to run a half marathon this October, or he can set a time goal, or he can do both, right? But when you're thinking about the goals that you're setting, think of it like that. Do you want to set an event goal, or do you want to set a time goal? And get really specific on that data. So when I was getting started and my husband and I were dating at the time, we were talking about the life we wanted to live. We talked about passive income. We talked about, we wanted to have kids and we wanted time with our kids, all these things. And one of the things that we talked about was buying investment properties. He had the construction side of things and I had the real estate side of things. And you can see here, this was our first investment property. That's water coming through the ceiling. And we found that out at the home inspection. And so I said, all right, we're not buying it. And he goes, oh, it's $50 at Lowe's and it'll take me an hour. I said, okay. So let's save a couple $1,000 and put the money in our pocket that we thought we were going to spend on it. It was 12 hours with a plumber. It was not the easy fix he said it was. I'll tell you that right now. But it was a great opportunity because we were able to take that money that we were able to get off the purchase price. And we said, okay, we'll start saving this for our next property. And, I was 21 years old at the time, and it was a scary thing. We're buying student rentals, so I'm managing properties of kids that are the same age as me, a year younger than me. It was all pretty close. But, we said, okay, we'll start saving for another property. And saving for that next property, we kind of fell upon a lot of luck, if you will. And at the time, it didn't feel that way, but we bought this property. It was meant to have some tenants moving in, and they had paid for summer storage. So with that, they paid, like $200 for a 6-bedroom house per month all summer long just to keep their stuff. So we were planning to go in and fix it up and, all new carpet, all new paint, make it really nice. And then once those people moved out, we were going to bring in some people that really wanted to take care of the property. That was my mindset, right? Great idea. Well, they had already been living there. They had been living there for $200 a month for the 6-bedroom house. The property management company from the old owners gave them the keys and said, if you pay utilities, we don't care. But we didn't know that. So we had a dumpster arrive. We had all of our friends ready to go up there and rip out some carpet with us. And sure enough, we call them. We say, hey, we're coming up tomorrow. We're going to fix it up. They said, no, we don't want you to fix it up. We're living here. And we said, what do you mean you're living there? They said, all of our stuff's here. Our animals are here. We're here. And my husband and I are like in the car driving. And I remember looking at him and he goes, oh, that's great. And I'm like, what do you mean that's great? This house is trashed. We got to fix it up. He goes, if they don't care, then I don't care. I'm like, well, that's not our ideal. That wasn't our business plan. Our business plan was we were going to fix up this house and we're going to have all these people that really wanted to take good care of it. And he goes, yeah, but we had set aside $15,000 for the renovation. So now we can buy another property. And so we did. So we bought another property. And in 3 years, we ended up, actually in 2 years, we had bought in so many properties that my husband was able to leave his job and go full-time with managing our rentals. So all that to say, here we are. You can see this is like 2 years after that. And we bought a old hardware store. We renovated that into my real estate brokerage, which is now, spoiler, becoming a coffee shop. And we have 16 residential properties and 4 commercial properties. And that's over the course of the last 4 years that we got started in that. So thank you. All that to say is that we did not start out knowing that that's where we were going to go. We didn't have all this experience to be landlords. We had no idea what we were doing. But we decided we knew what we were working towards. And the best way to gain experience is to start right where you are. Right? You don't need to be the most qualified person. Somebody can take 1,000 courses, but if they're not willing to go put the hours in and figure it out with boots on the ground, they're not going to be as qualified as you. Because if you're passionate, that is so much more powerful than anything else. You can read all the books, but if you're not willing to do it, it doesn't mean anything. And, that's what my husband and I experienced was we had a lot of people saying, oh, we want to get into investments. And we're like, okay, why haven't you? And all the excuses they gave, we thought, well, yeah, that's kind of scary, but there's no reason that we can't do it. You know what I mean? So I hope that encourages you guys to start setting some achievable goals. It doesn't have to be to buy 20 properties in the next 4 years. Start with one. But when you know the why that you're working towards, it gives you the perspective that will help you look for opportunities. Because once you've set that first goal and you know, okay, I'm looking for financial freedom, I'm looking for passive income, I'm going to buy one rental property. Oh, okay, this isn't so bad. I'll buy a second rental property. Or, oh, I'm going to hire my first employee. That's always a scary one, right? I'm putting someone on my payroll. Oh, now I can actually hire a second employee. Oh, I actually have the resources to outsource this. And that's all you have to do. You just commit to one small, achievable goal. It doesn't have to be the whole shebang, but pick one goal to work towards that can document if you're making progress towards your most fulfilled life or you're not. Once we can understand our one goal, we need to audit our environment. This one's kind of hard because does anyone here want to say that their environment sucks? I don't think so. And I'm not saying it does. But what I'm saying is it's really important to look at the people around you and ask the hard questions. Is their definition of success in alignment with your definition of success? And there's not a right or a wrong definition. But if you prioritize money and they prioritize time, you guys are going to be thinking about goals in a different way. And so when you start auditing your environment, I'm going to have you break it down kind of into multiple categories. You have your community, right? Your community is the people you're around. Then you got to look at their mindset and your mindset when you're around certain people. So how does that mindset impact the goals that you're setting? If the people you're around are telling you $100,000 is crazy and that's greedy and why would you work for that, you're probably not going to set a bigger goal. But if the people around you say $100,000, that's a piece of cake, you can do that in 6 months, forget a year, you're going to change your mindset and you're going to start thinking a little bit differently. Now, your mindset obviously impacts your goals, but your goals also impact your resources. And that was something that I learned the hard way. It's I think, embarrassing sometimes to share your goals, at least for me. I don't know if you guys can relate to that, but when you decide you want something different for your life and you start setting goals that are bigger than the people you're used to being around, it can feel really intimidating to share that and to put it out in the world and say, I'm going to write a book. Well, what are you qualified to write a book on? If you get that response, you're probably not going to feel very good about writing a book. If you say, I'm going to write a book, and someone says, oh my gosh, let me introduce you to my publisher, they would love to help you, it's going to feel a lot more manageable. So your community has such a big impact, not just on the goals you're setting, but also how you get connected to certain people. And vulnerable connection is the key to helping you achieve your goals. Because if you're sitting around and you're writing your goals, that's great. It's a great place to start. But when you take that step and you put it out in the world, you'll be so surprised how many people are going to come and join arms and link arms with you and help you. And if those people don't show up, that means you need a new environment. That means you need to go out and meet some new people and get in rooms like this and talk to people and tell them about the things that's on your heart. And the people that are in your life, if they don't support you and they don't understand, that's okay. You don't have to say, I'm never hanging out with you again. But you should have people that really understand what you define success as and that can also understand it and want to lift you up in that. So for us to be resourceful, we really need to share with our community because there are so many resources online, and I think it's easy to go down the ChatGPT rabbit hole and say, oh, I'm going to research this and figure it out for myself. But the best resources are the people that have already gone through it. They can lead you, they can guide you, and they can show you that it's not as scary as it looks online. You can type in 1,000 problems that come with property management. But if you talk to me, I'll tell you the worst stories, but I'll also tell you the good ones. And when you look online, you don't see both of that. You're going to get one or the other. So the people that are in your life, they need to know what you're working toward. They need to know what your heart is and what that fulfilled life looks like for you so they can support you along that journey. This is me at 19, getting into real estate. You can see here, I had no idea who I wanted to be, but all I knew was the company that I worked for told me I had to be a certain way to be successful. They said that I couldn't be a certain way. I couldn't be loud. I couldn't be honest and transparent to tell my clients, oh, you have kids, I have kids too. You have a sister, I have a sister too. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, this doesn't really feel right. That's not why I got into real estate. I got into real estate because I thought you can't force someone to buy a house. And this doesn't really match up. So I had really tried for those first 6 months to be who I thought I was supposed to be. And that community that I was around really shaped my mindset on that. And I thought, oh, I have to do real estate this certain way. I can't be authentic. I can't be truthful. And it set me off on a hard foot. And I think after the first 6 months, I was looking like, why can't I sell a dang house? I sold one condo in 6 months. And then I left that company. And with that change, I sold 20 homes in that first year with them. And I didn't know people. I had just moved from California here to Michigan to play lacrosse at Grand Valley. I was 19. The only people I knew were college students. So it wasn't like my resources changed in regards to like the people around me, but my environment and my community of real estate agents changed. And that changed how I went out into the world. And it changed the goals I set. And eventually, this is the team that I used to run of agents that I got to pour into. I felt so lucky to do that. And ultimately, it's what led me here to this room, was being in an environment of people that encouraged me to think bigger and to be authentic and to do what led me to feel fulfilled. For me to sell a house, it was networking. It was community. It was being honest, right? It wasn't lying and saying, oh, you have a daughter, I have a daughter, you have a cat, I have a cat. I'm allergic to cats. Okay? I don't have a cat. I'm never going to have a cat. So I'm sorry. If you guys like cats, that's great for you. But that's not me, and that's okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need to lean into that, and we need to have a community that allows us to lean into that, to allow us to lean into who we not just are right now, but who we want to be. We need to give ourselves permission to say, okay, I'm not there yet, but I'm working towards that, and have people that are going to hold us accountable along that journey. So going back to this, the resources one, I feel like people, don't necessarily believe me, and there's a lot of ways you can hear all kinds of stories of resources, but truthfully, what you have to think about is it's hard to share, right? It's really hard to share. I talked a little bit about how I quit lacrosse after a year at Grand Valley. What I didn't share was I went to Africa for 6 weeks, and that's what ultimately led me to that decision. I got away from everything and everybody I knew, and I put myself in a different perspective. I went to Ghana. It was the most amazing trip of my life. And I told my parents that I really feel like I'm called to go to Africa. I feel like I'm supposed to go to Ghana. I found this program. It's 6 weeks. And they said, absolutely not. There's no way. You just moved to Michigan. You need to come home for summer. Absolutely not. And I said, I'm going to go to Ghana. And they're like, no, you're not. They said, no, you're not. I said, yeah, I am. They said, you don't have a job. You've been playing lacrosse. You don't have any money. I said, okay, just watch. So what did I do? I went on Facebook. I posted a GoFundMe. It was, I think, like $2,500. And I said, I would like to go to Ghana. Can someone help me? And to put yourself out there at like 18 years old, and I was like, oh, my parents said I'm not going, so this better work, or what's going to happen, because you're asking people for money. So then I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what if like 2 people give me money and I can't go? What do I do now if they give me money? Like, what do I do? It's like, this better work out. So I put it out on Facebook, and in 2 days I had fundraised the entire amount from people that some of them I hadn't spoken to in years. I mean, it was my parents' friends. It was people I went to school with. It was their parents. And it was amazing. The resources people were willing to give to me because I put myself out there and I asked for help. And I'm not saying that it has to be financial. It can be anything, hey, I want to write a book. Who knows a publisher? Hey, with my coffee shop, I'm having all kinds of village issues. I went on my Facebook. I said, who knows a reporter? I need a reporter. This is a mess and I can't figure it out on myself. I need help. And so when you get in those vulnerable positions to be confident to share, and you don't worry about the people that are going to be negative, but you can lean in and know that the community you've built is supportive and there's going to be the right people that show up, it gives you access to more resources than you'll believe are out there for you. Your environment can be the difference between fulfilled and stuck. I'm saying that because it's not always fun to hear, but if you're feeling stuck right now, if you're in a season where you're waking up and you're not sure why it's so hard to get out of bed, there is a chance that your environment is playing a role in that. And that's not the only reason. I'm not saying that's the only thing, but I'm saying if you're looking at the overall picture and you know your why and you know your goals that you're working towards and something's missing, take some time and look at your environment. It doesn't have to be an aggressive or mean thing, but take a step to expand your environment. You don't have to get rid of people, but look at where can you find new people that are going to help you get excited about what you're doing and get excited about getting up in the morning. I mean, even if you're not seeing them, if you get an accountability group, there's so many resources out there with the internet and Facebook groups and like-minded people and someone who's gone before you, you have access to a bigger community. I mean, at your fingertips, truly. Anywhere in the world, you can get connected to someone pretty much. So look at your environment, do the environment audit, and decide, maybe your environment's great. I'm not saying that it's not, but if there's something missing, it's hard to have that acknowledgement, but take the time to look into it. All right, I have bad news. So I live a fulfilled life. My life is great. It's not easy. It actually is really hard a lot of times. So as someone who is committed to helping people live fulfilled, I really struggle with imposter syndrome a lot of time because I want to come up here and say, oh my gosh, it's great. Everything is perfect. It's not the case. It's actually really hard. When you are fueled with passion and confidence, it makes your toughest battles worth fighting. It doesn't make them easy, but it makes it worth fighting. When you get up in the morning and you have 3 kids under 2 that are screaming that were up until 4 a.m. last night. This is a true story. My daughter was up till 4 a.m. last night. I said, I have a big talk. Can you go to sleep? And she said, absolutely not. It's not easy. But just like with parenting, you being passionate about whatever it is that you're working towards is so much more impactful than any resume that you can build. When I got pregnant with twins, I was the kind of person who thought, oh, maybe I'll have 1 kid. I'm an only child. My mom is not like the nurturing, like, oh, let me teach you. I don't know how to braid my own hair, just to give you guys an idea of what we're working with here. And with all of that, I was like, how the heck am I going to have 2 kids at once? Like that, I'm not cut out for this. Wrong person. You got him in the wrong uterus. Switch it up. And, ultimately, I decided like, well, we're going to figure it out one way or another. And we did. And it went so well, I said, yeah, what's another one? Throw it in. So now we have 3 under 2, and we'll have more. And the great thing about that is I had no idea what I was doing. I still have no idea what I'm doing. Half the time I'm looking at these kids like, where is your parents? Like somebody get a grip. And it's really, it's the greatest gift I've ever had to be a mom. But I still don't know what I'm doing a lot of the time, but we figure it out. And you know why? Because I love it. Because it's great. Because I know at the end of the day, in 20 years, I'm going to like them a lot more than I do at 3 a.m. And that's okay. That's how it's going. So if you're in a season and you're struggling with something and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can make it through. Just remember, if you're passionate about it, that makes you way more qualified than anybody who's taken 10 courses on the matter. You guys have the ability to make an impact on something if you care enough. It's not about your resume. You can have every certificate and every degree, but if you don't care, just think about the doctors you met. If you've gone to a doctor's office, someone can know every single thing, but if they don't care about what you're telling them, all that knowledge doesn't do anything for you. This is our house. Okay, so my husband goes out of town. My daughter, my youngest, is 3 months old. My twins are they're like a year and a half. My husband's gone. He has no cell service. And my daughter decided she wasn't going to sleep. I was alone up all night, per usual. This is a theme, if you haven't noticed. And our nanny gets there, and I said, I'm canceling all my meetings, and I'm going to bed. And I'm walking up the stairs. I'm all pissed off in my pajamas. And I look at my phone, and I have a voicemail coming in from an unknown number. It says, we're all fine, but the house is burnt down, and there's 3 fire departments here. And I thought I was being punked. I was looking for Ashton Kutcher. I'm like, this is not really what I was expecting today. Because just 2 days before, I had also gotten, the day my husband left, I got a picture of a bathroom floor where the ceiling had collapsed. And I call our property manager, and this house is up at Ferris. This was this summer. This is a fresh wound. And everyone was okay, but the house is now completely to the ground. And I tell you guys this, not to scare you about if you guys want to get into property management. It's great. You should do it. But not to scare you, but to tell you that I got this phone call, and never once did I say, I'm going to go curl up in a ball and cry in my closet. I think that's a normal response. But that never would have that didn't cross my mind until months later that would be a normal response, in that moment, it was, okay, we're going to go and I'm going to drive up there. I'm going to call all the tenants and I'm going to talk to the fire department, and we have amazing resources. So I'm going to call our lawyer. I'm going to call our insurance company, and I'm going to call our property manager, and and you just do it. You just do it. And the reason I was able to just do it is because I am passionate about property management. I'm passionate about real estate. I'm passionate about the people that lived in this house. That was what it came down to for me. At the end of the day, yeah, it's sad we lost a house. It's a rental stream of income. That sucks. But those people, that was their life. Like, that was all their possessions. They're college kids. They didn't have renter's insurance. And so what did I have to do? I had to show up for them because I knew what was important, and I felt good about our life. It's not about me, right? Like, that's not about me. That's about them. And I was able to show up because I felt confident in, one, my resources, but two, our life. If I had no idea where my life is going and I was so reliant on, oh my gosh, my house, I'm so sad about my house, like, that doesn't matter. We were able to go up there. We bought there were 6 fire departments there. Bought them all pizza. They were there for like so many hours, 8, 9 hours to put it all out. We were able to buy the kids clothes, new toiletries. They had new housing with the school. And through that experience, it was just so eye-opening to be able to say, like, how fortunate we are to be able to help these people and to really be able to focus on these people. And I mean, my husband, like I said, he was gone. He had no cell service. So I talked to him 2 days later. I'm like, we had a house burned down. And yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry. His first day, is everyone okay? And it's like, that's what it's about. It's like you have to get to a point in your life where the work that you're doing is impactful and it's meaningful. And when these hard things come up, it doesn't make you say, oh my gosh, I'm on the wrong path of my life. I need to completely do something different. It's, okay, I know what's important. I have a clear grasp on it, and we're going to figure it out one problem at a time. The life of your dreams is worth every single challenge along the way. And there's going to be challenges. They're going to pop up. They're going to surprise you. Sometimes they're going to be long seasons. Sometimes they're going to be short seasons. But it makes it all worth it. So when you're thinking about that fulfilled life, the life that you want to live in 5 years, 10 years, 25 years, what would it take for you to feel like house burning down is not the end of the world? What would it feel like to have, tragedy in your life and still feel like I feel happy with the decisions I've made? I feel confident with where I am and where I want to be going, so that when these things do come up, you've already prepared yourself mentally. You're in the right spot where it's not already so hard to get out of bed in the morning that something like this would really break you. Goals are made to grow. So we're talking about goals. This is all great. I hope you guys have already started to think about some of the goals that you're wanting to implement, things that you want to add into your life. But I have news. In a year from now, they might look a little different, and that's okay. That's not a bad thing. But what's important to keep in mind is that the goals that you're setting now, as they grow, don't be so set on the goal that you're forgetting to look around for other opportunities. Because a lot of the times, we can feel really confident going into a situation. But what will happen is, if we get so focused on just, that one thing, which is important, we get the horse blinders on. It's like, okay, I'm just going to work for the rental property. I'm working on the rental property. Well, the goal was all about the financial freedom. So if I take a step back and somebody says, hey, I'm selling a restaurant, oh, that actually lines up with the financial freedom. Maybe, if I do it right. We'll find out. That's not figured out quite yet. But all that to say is your goals are going to grow. So keep in mind that big why and think about the fulfilled life, set the goal, and be ready for it to grow. Be ready for it to change and be ready to pivot, because who knows when you're going to have a couch flying at you, So I showed you that team that I had built. I was super fortunate. When I was 19, got my real estate license. By 23, I had become an owner of a brokerage, and I had built a team. And I didn't like getting up in the morning. It was really, really hard. I felt like I had worked so hard for this, and what the heck? Like, why is this not working for me anymore? And what I realized was my goals they'd grown and evolved. I was pregnant with my twins, and, it was something I had worked so hard for. But I was like, there's not alignment anymore with the life that I'm building. I had built this real estate office and team, but really I wanted to have more time with my kids in the future. And for me to scale a real estate team, I needed to spend more time and more energy to get more agents. And then the more agents I have, the more questions I get. And the more questions I get, the more time I have to spend, you know? So I'm sitting there like, wait a second. This isn't actually what I want. So what did I do? I blew up my life again. Just like with lacrosse, I said, all right, I'm going to change. I'm going to pivot. And we had the opportunity to take that real estate building. And I said, okay, if I'm not going to have a brokerage, our little village really needs a coffee shop. So we have a coffee shop that you can kind of see is not quite up and running because we're having issues. We also ended up buying a restaurant. It's also not up and running because of the village, but that's something that we're completely gutting. I have no food and beverage experience. I'm not telling you guys this because I'm so qualified, right? I'm telling you that when you know what you're working towards and when you feel confident in the work that you're doing right now, it all just becomes so clear, and it becomes not only less scary, but it becomes like so exciting because you know, like, okay, in 25 years, I'm going to be gone for a month in Europe, right? So all this stuff is going to be running itself in 25 years, okay? But I also created a Mom Boss Central, which I think you guys see here. That is a community for entrepreneurial moms. That was the network in the community that I was really lacking. I felt like I was really struggling with all these things and my identity. And I had built this office and I'm around people saying I need to work more hours and do more things. And all of that, I made the decision. I said, okay, I'm not feeling fulfilled. I'm going to pivot and I'm going to take a step back. I'm not going to run a team. I'm not going to run an office. I'm going to focus on selling real estate. And I'm going to, work on coaching entrepreneurs, people who actually wanted to spend time, working on their business, working on themselves. And I'm going to, create this community for other people that are in a similar position than me. And then the coffee shop and the restaurant, all of that came once I had the space to take a step back because I was no longer draining my battery on things that I felt like I had to do. It was like the time when you're doing things that you don't want to be doing, it sucks the life out of you. Something that could take 10 minutes takes an hour because you don't really want to be doing it. Once you're focusing on things that you want to do that's exciting, it's crazy how much more productive you can be when you actually want to be doing the work you're doing. So all that to say, you guys can be learning and confident at the same time. You can start now. It doesn't have to be you get a bunch of qualifications. You have to do a whole bunch of stuff to start. You can start now. You can be confident and you can learn. You don't have to pick one. You don't have to learn everything and then feel confident. So I hope today was impactful to you guys. I hope that you know where you want to go. You can spend some time on this nature walk to think about what's that life look like? Where do you want to be in 25 years? Where do you want to be in 10 years? And what can you do today? What's one goal that you can set that will help you know if you're on or off track? I really appreciate your guys' time. There's a little download here if you guys want some notes and questions to kind of reflect on. But again, thank you guys so much for having me, and I hope this was helpful to you.